Hi, my name is Leo, and I'm a disaster. Well, I'm finally getting to it. After talking about it for several videos now, I'm going to pick back up with my experience in Japan. I took a trip in March of 2019 with my family, and that is where I'm going to pull some of the pictures I've taken and some of the experiences that I got to luckily have. If you go and things are a little different, I'm so sorry. In this video, as the title I'm sure is going to suggest, this is about the first day that I landed in Japan, as well as my experience that evening, plus a little bit of the flight. When we left, we flew out of San Francisco, and we left at 11:50 p.m., so at night. We flew for 14 hours, I want to say, to Manila, where we had a brief layover, and then we picked up from Manila and flew to Tokyo. By the time we had landed in Tokyo, it was Thursday, and we landed at 3:30, I want to say. You do lose a day when you're traveling from the United States going east. However, most people tend to go home, so you're going to get that day back when you go home, unless you just don't go home, which I did consider. When we landed at 3:30, it was immediately a rush of emotions as to, first thing was, did my bags make it? Because otherwise, being 6'3" and a larger dude, I would have not had anything to wear until my bags decided to show up somewhere. Honestly, we were excited to just step foot in a new country. Kind of sounds cliche, but honestly, that's really what we were thinking and talking about. Got off of the flight, and we saw that they had cherry blossoms decorated all around kind of the walkway from you getting off the flight and then kind of getting from the terminal to the baggage area. They had some cherry blossoms, and like good tourists do, we pulled over and took a lot of pictures. All throughout the airport and in honestly a lot of Tokyo, it was clear that they're getting ready for the 2020 Summer Olympics to take place in Tokyo, and so there was signage everywhere, and they have two little mascots that are kind of cute. One's blue and one's pink, and they were everywhere, plush versions of them. When we got off of the plane, we got our bags, and we were at that moment of, where do we go? What's next? That's when the trip hit, and it was like, okay, we're here, let's do this. We knew we were going to take the train for most of our trip, all of our trip. We were not sure where to begin. Thank God they had a really great information desk. The people there were so sweet. They did speak English very well. They helped us figure out that we needed to get these Passmo cards. It's Passmo, or there's another card you could also get. You fill them up and then you can just walk through the gates. There's also, at each of the different stations, there's a security guard who's set up right by the gates that you swipe the card at. If you have questions as to where is this train going to go? Where do I need to go to get on this specific train? They're pretty good about pointing out the right way. We swiped our Passmo cards and we made it to the train. Let me go ahead and share that I recommend using Apple's Maps. We used that over Google Maps for this trip. It seemed like Apple Maps was a little more intuitive and a bit more accurate with telling us what trains to take whenever we were going on multi-train journeys. That first night, I think we had to take two separate trains. Maybe it was just one, but I think it was two. And so when you get off and you have to get to another connecting train, the Apple app was really good about telling you ahead of time, what was the name of the line that you needed to find, about what time these trains were running. That way you could plan if you wanted to stop or how quickly you needed to get from destination A to B. The picture I'm showing here was me just on the train standing up. I looked over and I saw that lady just standing with her case, and I felt very Vogue vibes from her. I loved her glasses. I loved the fashion that she had on. I took that picture. Her full face isn't in it, so that's why I don't feel too bad. Whenever you're riding the train, especially as we were leaving Haneda Airport, you look out and it's almost like you were in an anime, in the sense that anytime if you've seen animes, you can see that there's a mixture of modern architecture mixed in with older styled architecture, and immediately you see that. And there were people who had clothes hanging up outside to dry. There were young kids riding bikes, and you could even see that from the train. They were outside on their own. It felt fake, honestly. It felt like we were almost on a set at first, because it was like so many, I guess, cliches that I've seen in the past in terms of film and in terms of what I've seen in digital media. To see it in person, it just didn't feel real. We got to where we needed to be. I think it was Yahiro Station. I might be wrong with that. There were two stations we ended up using quite a bit, because where we were staying, which was a little northwest of Asakusa, there were two different stations that were kind of equal distance to us. On one station, there was a McDonald's and a 7-Eleven nearby. The other station really didn't have anything right by it, but then as you walked, there was a 7-Eleven. We kind of just took our pick oftentimes of which station we wanted to stop at. I remember the first night, it was raining so much. It was a lot colder than any of us had expected it to be. Now, the weather was mirroring that of where we live here in the United States, which is Sacramento area. Sorry about that, my battery died. Anyways, the point was that the weather was much colder, same temperature, but I think there was humidity or something else played into it that made it a lot colder than we thought it was going to be. So even though it was raining, even though it was cold, we made our way to the Airbnb. Went inside, and as you'll see in this picture, it was our home away from home. We really got a great deal on this Airbnb. I want to say it was about $100, probably less, maybe like $80 per night while we were there. Of course, there was a cleaning fee. If I can find the Airbnb itself, I'll link it in case you guys ever wanted to stay there. I really recommended it. It had enough room to sleep 6 people. There's 2 full-size beds, I would say, which the 4 adults split that to 2 each, or 1 bed for every 2 people, and there was a bed, a single person bed, and then there was a couch. We hung out at the Airbnb for a moment, and then we got on the train and we wanted to go explore. That night we decided we were going to go to Tokyo Skytree Town. For us, it was a benefit because Tokyo Skytree Town was really close to where we were staying. I think the train ride was 7 minutes over. We got over there and we saw that it was this big mall. It was our first experience really getting out there. Of course, there were some expensive shops, but there was also your standard stores to go into to just buy clothing or buy some candies or even some toys. When we got to Tokyo Skytree, it was nighttime, so as you can see in this picture, it was lit up, but it was really, really pretty, and we were excited to go up there. Also, right outside the Skytree was a Kirby cafe. We didn't eat there because we did not know it was there and we didn't make reservations. My friend Erica really loves Kirby, so she took a picture out there. There was a Ghibli store that was right around the corner from that too. Now, at the Tokyo Skytree, and I need to pull it up, here it is. So there's 2 different levels. When you purchase your tickets, you either buy a package that's just for 1 level, or you can buy the package which is going to be for both floors. If it's important to you to go all the way up, you need to make sure you're buying the correct package. You can buy it before you go to Tokyo. That's what we chose to do. That way, whenever we got there, we just pulled it up on our phones and they were able to scan it. Really, really easy, smooth process. I've heard on busy days that this can get you through in and out much faster rather than having to wait in a long line to purchase your tickets. It makes sense that way. When we went, it was not terribly busy. On the first floor, there were some backdrops that you could use to take pictures. It's a very touristy spot. Salvador and Tatum actually found this table that it was touchscreen, so you could touch on it and it would show you different buildings and different parts of Tokyo with some information. That way, and you could turn it too, so the view that is. So you could get a full scape view of different areas and you could make plans honestly to figure out, oh hey, this is where we're gonna go in a few days. Oh hey, let's maybe check out this. We did do that a little bit with where we were going to go in the coming week. They do have their own photographers for a couple of the setups. One of them we, to this day, still talk about because they count down, it's 3, 2, 1, Skytree. Anytime we're doing pictures now, we still remember that. We did little peace signs, but I think that a lot of the people were doing this for the Skytree Tower. So if you go, take your pick, they won't care. It was really cute. And I think it was $12, and when you exchange the currency, I think it was about $12 for the photo. In case there was any question, Tokyo Skytree is the 2nd highest building in the world. I think it was the tallest tower for a while, but then Dubai recently built something and now it's the 2nd tallest. We did go all the way up to the 2nd floor, the 450-meter mark. I thought personally that the building was shaking because it was so high. I figured that, you know, the wind was catching it. Turns out, I found out a few days later that that was my anxiety and that the tower itself doesn't shake. I don't know, I thought we were gonna die. So I seriously felt like it was waving back and forth, but I figured it was safe and I figured that was a part of it just because of how tall the building was, but that was a me problem, not a building problem. I am gonna insert a little bit of a video so you can see what we saw. And with that, when we looked out, it looked like the city never ended. There had been some fog due to, I think it was cooler in the morning and at night, and the day was warmer. It created a bit of fog. So we looked out and it seriously looked like the city just bled into this fog. It was special. It looked like you were kind of, it's dramatic to say, but it seriously felt like we were maybe in heaven and looking out and it was just endless, like people upon people upon people. It is the most populated city in the world at 16 million people, and you can tell that there's a lot of life down there. On that 450-meter floor was a Barbie exhibit, and there were a lot of different Barbie figurines, and there was also a photo op place that we had Tatum go in and take a picture. Very pink, very bright, very in your face. And perhaps one of the most well-known parts of the Tokyo Skytree Tower is the glass floor that you can walk out over and look down and see a part of the city. I think that in the research I had done leading up to us going to Tokyo, I expected it to be much bigger, because whenever we got there and we actually saw the floor, and trust me, you can't miss it, everyone's crowding around it. Rather than in a lot of the tourist videos that I had seen leading up to us going, I thought that it was a big piece of the highest level floor. I thought that most of that floor would have been glass. And in reality, it was a very small part. Again, very crowded in that area, so you had to, get your photo moment and kind of move on out of respect for everyone else. And I'll share the video now. For the kids or for adults who love to collect, there are several stations inside this Tokyo Skytree where you can get stamps. If you have a traveler's notebook, or if you have just honestly any regular piece of paper and you enjoy collecting things, go find each of the stations. I believe there was 4 in total. I think it was 2 on each level, and get some stamps to remember it. They're free. Once we finished up at the Tokyo Skytree Tower, we made our way back into the mall. There we had our first food court moment. You definitely are exposed very quickly to the fact that in Japan you are responsible for your own trash. There are receptacles that you would dump liquids in, and then you return the trays back to the vendor that you purchased food from. If you have trash throughout the mall, or if you're eating a snack, which I wouldn't recommend walking and eating a snack, that's considered disrespectful. That's maybe another video. If you have any sort of trash, just know that you're going to be responsible for that probably until you get home. Even bathrooms have very tiny trash cans that are not meant for you to dump your trash in. Another spot that we ended up seeing that did have opportunities to throw trash away was 7-Eleven, but sometimes the more touristy areas, they too have areas that you can get rid of plastics or papers. We ended that night in the best way that I could have hoped for. We found our first of 3 in total Pokemon stores that we went to on the trip. It was great to go into that store. So much merchandise, so much that we just wanted to buy, but we told ourselves to pace it out a little bit. After the Pokemon store, we made our way home to our Airbnb, and there we got some sleep and we began our next day. So if you want to hear more about my travels to Japan, again, I would recommend subscribing. Moving forward, I am going to talk about area by area or district by district that we went to in Japan. Keep in mind, as I want to be very clear, and I'm going to say this in each video, I am one tourist who went for in the grand scheme of things, I went for a short amount of time. My experience, my thoughts, they don't represent people who are local there. They don't represent maybe people who've traveled there far more than I have. Perhaps take what I say, not with a grain of salt, because I am giving you a very honest, very real viewpoint, but take it as one person and not a greater community, okay? So if I say something that leaves you with questions, maybe look it up. There's going to be plenty of other videos, probably better videos out there that you could watch, maybe learn from. But if you have questions, you can always ask me in the comments. I try and be good about responding to that. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for using your time to watch. That's something that I created. That really does mean a lot to me, and I hope you have a great day. I will have a new video up next week.